Yeah, it's working. Okay. I think we're back. I don't know if I'm back. Let me know. Yeah, I fucked that up. I switched mixers and everything. I'll back this up here. Where we at? One. I don't know. All right.
You know what your latitude and longitude is, and you figure out it from a mathematical equation. And I don't know it off the top of my head, but I have it written down.
That's
It is
Cosine,
sin.
fine. Sine, right? Sine, not sin.
It's sine, but it's sine. To you would have to have a scientific calculator or know what these mean as far as sine and declination and cosine to the
Cosine.
Latin. And it just means that you're doing an equation, and it's just sine is the button you're pushing, and it's 2 to the third power divided by 3 to the fourth power. And
Bring
then
that
you
up closer to the camera so we can see the equation. It's kind of blurry.
Sorry
Yeah.
about that. Sorry.
this one's for amplitude. Let me see. This one's for amplitude for figuring out the stars of what you're at because it's the same trigonometry equation. And this one's for your compass error as far as your
Okay.
magnetic declination. And it's just that whenever you figure all these things out as far as sine to the declination and the declination is just whatever whatever you are from north as far as when you look north and your magnetic declination gets you off you as far as not get you off as far as what your compass is off of the Polaris, that's what you're multiplying sin to as far as divided by I'm sorry, multiplied by, and then you divide that by cos to the latitude, and that's just whatever your latitude is of where you're at, what you're moving along. If it's the 35th parallel or the 34th, you multiply that by cos, and whatever that comes out to, you multiply it by 60, and that's your compass error. If you
Right.
didn't multiply it by 60, that would be your amplitude, and that just has to do with plotting your position by using the map that I've created with these star trails. Um,
By the way, when he
Two
says
sides.
sin and cos, he means sine and cosine. Everybody knows that, right?
oh, I'm sorry, sine and cosine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not that you have to say it a certain way to make it make sense. But
Well, I say everything. That might be one of the reasons I don't really talk about this with people a lot. I say words wrong.
yeah, because you're just reading it. You're teaching yourself without being in the conversation where it's like, it's like sigma. What were you calling it? Sigma or Octavius?
Octavius. I thought it was Octavius
Like,
for
no,
the
it's
longest time, but
Octavius,
it
I
didn't
think.
matter. It didn't
Doesn't
matter.
matter.
I had
Octantis.
to.
It's the data matters. Yeah, and you know what
Yeah.
we're talking about for sure.
Hey,
Yeah.
Sigma Octantis.
So are you saying that there's two other realms essentially to make up the Star of David? Is that, did I misinterpret that?
No, that's what it looks like. The geometry is showing me that if eventually when you take like okay, I'm going to show something that I didn't think I was going to, but if you take the information that if I take the information that I'm getting and I lay all of the star information, all of this, and I want you guys to see this too. This is how I figured out that I could lay the stars over my map because this is all I had for the longest time with the latitude and longitude. I didn't understand that I could overlay the stars and have it actually work to where I could use it in real life. But this is called a Weems and Plath, right? This is a star finder. It's not to project as far as to tell you how to plot your finding or anything. It's just to where you could go outside, you use this information with the star, the nautical almanac to tell you where the star is going to be, and you place yourself upon it, and you use your grid to where you can say, oh, I just go outside with my compass, and it tells me there's Regulus, there's Diomedes, there's whatever the star is, it'll show you where it is. And I figured out that I could take, because this was the real data, and I could put this together and literally have both of them, not just one on each side, but separate them and make my own. And when I did that, I took and put all of that together with the ley lines, and you can kind of see what.
How cool is that, right? That's super cool. Check out. What's up? Name's important. Good to see you. Fenton. Fenta. What's up? I'm just learning this stuff still, man. I'm slow dog, but we'll get there, man. We'll get there.
What I'm getting here. If you
And
put
okay, just to explain that what you did was you basically at a certain date and time, you froze the stars in a way.
at the
Like
vernal
where the
equinox.
stars, the vernal equinox. This is where the star positions would be above the land, and if you connect the stars in the same way that it seems to make a similar pattern or same pattern that they've used on Earth to represent the ley lines, which is interesting if that's the case.
Well, it's okay. I cheated a little bit on this. I will admit to that. I took the same GP information that you would have from the ball or the real world as far as just GP. I didn't go to the sphere or nothing, but I used the ley line information that they had and I transposed it onto mine, and this is what I came up with. This is a 60-point ley line on the grid. I mean, that's all it is. And if you look at it, the numbers all together, as far as the same way that they would number it together, you can kind of see it. And I know it's going to, maybe you can see it, I don't know if you can, but you can see the faces of the things that people worship. They talked about, you can even see a man's face in there, but maybe you can see it, I don't know if you can, but you can see the faces of the things that people worship. They talked about, you can even see a man's face in there, but a lion. You can see a lion with a mane. You can see a bat. You can see a cat. You can see a dog. You can see all these things.
What do you guys see? I don't know, man. I see a lot of shit too, man. That's pretty wild.
And when you start really seeing the stories that they all talked about,
Looks like Darth Vader. Yeah, my sound is low. Shit. Okay.
about all the megalithic structure builders or the quote unquote people that they say built them, all their stories, no matter if it's about a deity or if it's about their culture, it all can be transposed to be the stars, as far as the progression of the stars going around, just like Jesus, just like everything that has to do with Jesus, the three wise men, as far as the preceding of the son being born out of the Virgin Mary on December 21st. You know, and
Through
just
the constellation Virgo, through the constellation
Yeah.
Virgo, the Virgin, yeah.
just like Jesus, just like everything that has to do with Jesus, the three wise men, as far as the preceding of the son being born out of the Virgin Mary on December 21st. You know, and
Through
just
the
all these-
constellation Virgo, through the constellation
Yeah.
Virgo, the Virgin, yeah.
Right. Well, the same thing happens in the Mayan culture. The same thing happens in the Aztec culture. The same thing happened with what was his name? Not Nebuchadnezzar. What's his name? Gilgamesh. He was born of a virgin mother. All these fucking things. Just everything has to do with what we're I shouldn't say what we're talking about.
The
Has to do
possession
with the
of the
star
star.
connection, and if you put the star connections on these ley lines, they kind of add up. As far as if you put it to where you're showing Orion is literally sitting over the top of Egypt at this exact moment in time every year at the vernal equinox at noon. I mean, that's where the sun. And I shouldn't say the sun, but that's where the what would you call it? Orion's belt is sitting right over. And what do you know? They built a huge, one of the biggest megalithic structures that mirrors Orion's belt for that exact moment in time.
And back in the day, I sent you a video that showed other connections across the Earth with Orion's belt, and even in Tonga, they had like these three squares that were kind of offset in exactly the same way, mirroring that. And that was a big thing that started you on lining up some of the other things with what at the time you thought would be more like the actual equator compared to the equator they were given to the sun.
It was
That
like
was interesting.
this. I thought, so I knew the stars worked this way, as far as if you can see what I'm talking about. It's the same patterns of what we see in the stars, 2 disks, converging and diverging, east to west, and you can see the movement, the green arrows showing you which way it is. But I thought that if you look at the megalithic structures, I thought it was only one line on the celestial equator that was giving it, and they were doing pi. They were figuring out exactly when, from the North Pole, when it would cross over Fiji, when it would cross over, or Tonga, Tonga, and then when it would cross over the Philippines. And they would actually time it out exactly, and when it was exactly the vernal equinox, when it was exactly the summer solstice, when it was these times to plant, when it was the times to harvest, they would build a megalithic structures along that line. But I didn't realize that it was a 2-pole at that point. As far as I knew it was 2-pole, I didn't realize that the sun followed that 2-pole. I thought it looked like this. I thought it looked like this. I thought it went around and just dipped down here like this, but that's not what the sun does, because if you follow the GP as far as the actual positioning.
That's the good old AE map, right? Yeah, we were looking at that. I remember.
Of what the sun's doing through the year, it crosses this barrier, never comes back up above it. It doesn't do a circle like this. It literally comes down and goes, and then comes up, and it goes down.
Charging and discharging.
Charging.
Do you think the megalithic structures are all one society, or like?
No. No, they're not. They're not one society, but they're one idea. It'd be like the same idea as saying the Freemasons are all one society. The Freemasons aren't one society. You have free and accepted Masons. You have Freemasons. You have Daughters of the Star, or certain things that are Freemasons, but not all clans and positions accept it. But you can see who the beginning was, and the reason is because there's so much. What do they call it? Illumination or writing on the ones that get further out from the center. The further out you go from the beginning idea of where you're going to start, how it's going to begin, and everything. Egypt, I mean, there's all kinds of not calligraphy,
cartography,
whatever, images, pictographs, whatever, carvings, not hieroglyphs. There you go.
Hieroglyphs, yeah.
But not in the pyramids. The pyramids are bare. There is not one hieroglyph in the pyramids, not made by the builders, not made by anybody who was anybody within a time frame of 1,000 or 12,000 years building that thing, carved any information into it. But as you move out away from here, especially when you get to the edges of either the north or the south, it gets engaged. I'm saying the wrong word. Embellished. You can see Mayan technology, our carvings, Aztec, Angkor Wat, even some of the things that you see down in the off the shore of, it's not off the shore of here, but it's actually up over in here, but these islands that were built by basaltic rocks that are like octagonal things that are 10, 20 tons, and entire islands were built out of these things, but they're just embellished more than anything you can see. And the further you get away, it's almost like the further time went on, the further they progressed out, the more the
Intricate.
empire or intricate, or the more bullshit was put on top of everything to make it where it was not used for the sole purpose of what it was intended for.
Interesting. Now, so you're saying we talked about the idea of like that there was like this type of being that could have been, maybe that whatever they're calling the Elohim or outer ponders, whatever it is, but they had like this blue or green figure that keeps reappearing along the way in these different cultures.
Well, not just one, and it wasn't just a blue one. It was many different ones. One was considered a fish, blue, like you say, blue, and that was Indonesian. And then the green one, which had a brother, I don't know if he was black or if he was brown, but that was the Mayans,
Elohim.
No, it's not Elohim. It's Alopecia or Pilasha or some weird name. He's in all of the hieroglyphs over in like Aztec and Mayan cultures as far as is a deity, but he was green, so he was lizard-like, you know. And then you had the fish-like, and then you had the sky people. And every single cataclysm that they talk about in any of the megalithic structures, it always talks about that somebody came from the ocean or from the sea or from the sky or from lost land. And they always came with a warning. And then after the cataclysm, whatever the cataclysm was, because I don't know exactly what they were talking about, I don't read their language. I just can read some of the bullshit that they're showing. You know, they're showing that this happened. People hid food. People did this, built underground cities, all these kinds of things. Those people came back, or those deities or entities, the blue guys from the skies or the waters, the green guys from the far-off lands from ships that were not known, would come and bring animal husbandry. They would come bring law. They would come bring technology. They would come bring weapons of war. They would come bring agriculture, and they would come bring hope. Every single culture talks about it. Babylon, Aztecs, Mayans. It doesn't matter who it is. And if that's true, then you can kind of, I'm not saying this is true, but you can kind of see how if we are people, and you can look around the world and there's white, black, yellow, and I don't know what they call them, but red, but it's not red. It's some Inuit type, yes. Indian type. But this happened. People hid food. People did this, built underground cities, all these kinds of things. And when it was over, those people came back, or those deities or entities, the blue guys from the skies or the waters, the green guys from the far-off lands from ships that were not known, would come and bring animal husbandry. They would come bring law. They would come bring technology. They would come bring weapons of war. They would come bring agriculture, and they would come bring hope. Every single culture talks about it. Babylon, Aztecs, Mayans. It doesn't matter who it is. And if that's true, then you can kind of, I'm not saying this is true, but you can kind of see how if we are people, and you can look around the world and there's white, black, yellow, and I don't know what they call them, but red, but it's not red. It's some Inuit type. Yes,
Dave paused it. New Perspectives paused it. Hey man, you guys want the link to the whole video? It's 6.5 hours. It's in the description. Check it out. Don't check it out. Whatever. It's all good. I'm just learning with you guys. I appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
Indian type, but I don't know exactly. But that would give us and it's not just visual. It's genetically. We're genetically different from them. You can totally see it, and you can totally see it. And if that's true, then there had to be different genetics built into us, not just coming from one, hominid or Neanderthal and human mating, and now some of us got burnt and some of us didn't. Some of us were, we
were crossbred with a different type of the same type of thing. I've always thought about this. Like the apes, like there's certain apes that look like a certain race. And I'm not saying we're apes or trying to go along with evolution or any of that, but if we were crossbred with whatever the type of humanoid was developed to at that point, and then we were given some of their DNA, whoever it was, the outer ponders, whatever these people possibly were, that would make a lot of sense that there'd be different types of people because we didn't all come from one type of person.
Well, and the only reason I really jumped to that is because of what I started seeing as far as not so much in the people, but the structures. The building, the structures, what they were intended for, what they were used for, what foundations they were. Every cataclysm that happened, or every ruler, whether it be Rome, Babylon, even in America, you can find places that there's structures that don't make sense. I mean, they have.
That would be the Tartaria.
They have 100-ton, 1,000-ton, literally on top of the other ones. You go to the Aphrodite's Colosseum or some shit like that. They've got these stones that we can't move today. There's no possible way we're ever going to move these stones, and they are underneath generations, as far as thousands and thousands of years before they ever built the Colosseums or the I can't remember the name of it, but it's over in Turkey or something like that. But anyway, they're it's like a civilization built whatever they built, whether it was a monument to a deity, a Colosseum, or whatever it was, and then thousands of years went by and the rubble, and then people built upon top of this base, this foundation, with smaller blocks. Every single time it's always smaller blocks. And then thousands and thousands of years, or however, 100 years, whatever you want to say, went by, and then there was smaller blocks. And every single time you look at it, doesn't matter if it's in London, if it's in America, if it's in Russia especially, is the biggest one, you can see that the doors are fucking like fucking 30 feet tall, dude. 30 feet tall doors. And then the people that built, and these are the buildings only that survived. These stones that are 10-ton, 30-ton stones that they couldn't destroy these types of things if they tried. But the ones that we have now that we're saying for ancient megalithic structures, those doors are only 10 feet tall. And our doors are 7 feet tall. Now, I'm not saying every door has to be exactly the size of the human or the entity that went through it, but you can see that there's a progression of us getting smaller. And it seems to me like we get less technology because we can't do the stuff that you see in some of the ancient cities in like Peru and I mean shit, in Turkey, Iran. There's carvings on with in Egypt. There's carvings on certain things that out of rose quartz that are so perfect. Our technology, we couldn't do it today. We don't have the layers. We don't have the material to do it. We couldn't transport it. We couldn't do any of this.
Yeah, and then there's the question. We've talked a lot about some of the things that could have been intentionally suppressed as far as this technology goes. Like maybe they've had the AI for a long time, but even before the last reset, or like that video I sent you, they're talking about a mini ice age and like what I was getting at with bringing up the green and blue possible, deity / other, guardian beings that we came from. That would account for why some of these structures are similar. And I think somebody like Stack Tapper or Ben was asking about like, do you think it's the same people that are making all these structures? Well, if it was influenced by these more advanced beings along the way, who knows how long they actually live, but same people that seem to be kind of running the show in the background, right? Possibly could be the influence on all these different cultures.
Well, I'm not saying it wasn't used for the same purpose, because everything, I mean, it looks to be a grid. I mean, it looks to be a power source. There's no other way to describe it. They were using ionosphere power. I mean, that's exactly what I tried to do for the longest time, and it works. You can do it. You just have to do it on a grand scale. And I don't have the copper for one, and I don't have the gold, and I don't have the time or the energy to do anything.
And they were, and you were mentioning back in the day, we were talking about this, and you said, yeah, I could build this thing, but if I build it too high, they'll definitely track it. And they would have a problem.
Well, no, I've got one. They're very easy to make. They're not hard to make. It's a matter of you being able to control and store the energy, or what are you using it for? Because it's not like you're not getting 112 volt, 20 amp power. You're getting 80,000 to 200,000 volts at 0.735 amps, coming through the line, and it will fucking kill you if you don't do it right. I mean, this shit is crazy.
You made a pump that you were pretty happy to find out worked perfectly. It's called what? What was the pump called again that you made for your water?
Oh, the Ram pump.
The Ram pump, yeah. That works. Just perpetual.
It's a two one-way gate. it's not perpetual. It works off the ram effect through hydraulics. So if you have a pipe that runs through, I wish I had it's on the phone that I'm using to do this. I can't show it to you, but it's just it's a 7-to-1. So for every foot that you go up above the pipe or the pump itself sitting there, every foot that you go up and you have a pipe filled with water, you can pump it up through this device 7 feet. So it's a 7-to-1 offset ratio. So I just drop, so I just drop it, I think it's like 17, 20 feet or whatever, and I'm pumping it up 120 feet vertical distance and about 400 feet through some just plastic line. And I pump it up from the bottom of the creek that runs at the bottom of my property just to a tank that I water my garden with. And it's just two one-way gates. So it's a pipe that comes through. You have a one-way gate that opens up and lets water through, right? As far as, I'm sorry, you got to, how can I, I'm not going to try and describe this. It's just a one-way gate that lets water out, and as soon as it gets to the point to where that it's like an overflow, or it's enough water to move that gate to close it, and there's another gate here that opens and closes this way, which has the pipe that runs up the hill. It's letting water out, and then it gets enough, and it goes slap, and it slams shut, and all that force of that water coming down pushes this one open and pushes a 7-to-1 offset up that hill. And as soon as it gets enough to where it's not going up, it slams shut, and then this one goes click and starts letting the water out, and then it does it consistently, boom, boom, and it's just pumping water up, and you're losing. It's not like you want to do this with city water or anything that you're from a tank to a tank, but if you're running through a creek, that water that's pushing out, you lose 80% of your water, and 20% of your water goes through the pipe up to the hill. Or up to the tank.
If I just wanted to learn more about all this stuff in general, what would be like the number one like documents or anything that I can like look at?
Document?
My website.
For the pump stuff, for the stars and all that.
The stars, everything.
Well, you're talking to them right now. This is the main
I know. I just don't have spoon feed me all day.
Yeah, you got the flow.
I can talk to you.
I don't know. The main thing I would say to anybody is that the thing that broke my, I shouldn't say broke my, it was the breakthrough for me anyway that made my eyes I see the world differently now. I don't even see things at all like they are anymore. Is everything is electromagnetics. If you can look at everything as being within inside of a field and being run within inside of the field, your brain, your thoughts, the way that the structure of your bones, and the reason you look the way you do is because you were born at a certain time at a certain place within inside of this magnetic field when the sun was at a certain position. That's why your nose is a little bit longer than the next person that was born 30 days later, or why you're burnt a little bit differently as far as even the same people that are your race, as far as how close, how not so much if you're sunburnt, but as far as your melatonin or the pigment of your skin.
You're not denying DNA and the genetics on it. Just to make
no,
sure
not at all. But you have dark black people. You've got light black people. You've got dark Cajun or Caucasian people. You've got dark Indian people, but they're light. But they're the same race. But it has to do with how far and how close you are to this central point, right here. As far as when your lifespan, not so much when you're born, but I mean that does matter. But your lifespan, how close you are to that celestial equator and the prime meridian cross.
Oh, you mean how long you'll actually live? Your lifespan?
No, it dictates many different things as far as like people that look really, really weathered. It's not just wind. It has to do with your connection. Are you a very oily person that connects really magnetically or electromagnetically with the ground? Do you live close to this point? I can only describe it like.
So you think that actually rules over some of the inherited traits that people have, like just from genetics, from whoever they are born from?
I don't think it's genetics. I think it's more like if I took you and put you into a room where I was just bombarding it with radio frequencies. I know that's the only thing I can think of to show you magnetic frequencies and the field in the middle of the field. If I put huge speakers right next to you, but I wasn't hitting you with sound, I was just hitting you with frequency. It would change the way you feel, the way you think, the way you act, and the way your body would react to it. As far as, and if it's
okay, so you're saying over time, because you'd be closer or farther from that.
Yes, not so that you're born there, but if you live in these areas, you can just see it in people, the way that their thought process, the way that they think.
Now you were saying something about like you were doing a couple tests. You were doing some tests with like the hooking like a sensor to someone that was born at a certain time, and how you were noticing a different charge amongst your friends and family that had something to do with what was it again?
I'd use magnesium, so a magnesium a bar, starter bar, whatever you want to talk about with a ferro rod. But I'm not using the ferro rod. And then silver. You can use gold, but silver is the best. Positive and negative. Hooking them up to a voltmeter, and you can charge. You can literally measure the electric voltage in people. And I was just doing it on me at first. It was just to see what I could do. I'm going to turn this camera off. My battery's almost dead.
Cool.
But I could measure myself, and I was over a volt. I was 1.6 or 1.5 volts, I think, or something like that, just the first time I tried it, just to try and figure out what it was. But I'm really oily as far as compared to other people. It's not like I got oil dripping off of me or skin juice, coming but I'm really oily compared to other people, because when I would start doing other people, I would get nothing. And it was because they were dry people. They, flaky skin or whatever. They didn't have any moisture.
Even your own family members. So it wasn't like you should be the same as your parents or your brother necessarily.
Right. No, it has nothing to do with the relation. And I don't think it has anything, as far as this has anything to do with where you're born, or I'm sorry, where you live at. It has to do with time and where you're born.
And that's interesting. Because some of these things that... Go ahead.
Well, it seemed to me that if you were born, because I started really trying to figure out exactly if it really mattered or if it changed depending on who they were, what race they were, or whatever. I didn't have thousands of people that I could do this with, only a couple hundred, but they were close to the summer solstice. The closer to the summer solstice, I could get them up to 2 volts as far as what I could read off of them. If they were in the winter solstice or if they were in the southern hemisphere when they were born, they were low voltage. Not like they were dead people, but just not the voltage that I could ramp up in a voltmeter on anybody else that was in June 21st to July, August, something like that.
You're going to have a lot of people being like, what kind of claim is that? Blah, blah, blah. But that's an interesting thing.
I took it further. I took it and I didn't do anything crazy, stupid, or, like Nazi-ish or nothing scientific, but I cut myself. And just to see if I would go higher. Oh, it went higher. I got up to 2.7 volts or something like that when I went inside my skin.
Right. Interesting.
So definitely, but you can charge a fucking cell phone with your body, with the amount of voltage you've got. Use a capacitor, a RF, just a regulator, just ramps up your voltage to where you can take 2 to 4 volts and then charge up to 8 volts. It's just the capacitor fills it up, and you can charge a cell phone off your body easily.
Do you think you can charge yourself up? Like I don't know.
You're not going to charge it up, but you're going to see it blink. And how you see the little thing that goes from just showing you a battery to you have the lightning bolt. I got the lightning bolt.
Wow.
Interesting. Hey, wait, real quick. I'm sorry. Go ahead. What was your question?
Like people born on the summer solstice and in Egypt are like the strongest. Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm saying, so if you're born let's say you were born, and it's really weird too. This is going to trip you out because you'd have to correlate this with like my star pictures of Polaris in the summer and the winter to see. You could literally get the Eye of Ra when the sun goes through its full cycle of 365 days of watching it and doing star trails. You can see it move through the Eye of Ra. Anyway, it is exactly
wait,
opposite.
Hold on, clarify that real quick. What were you saying that you're talking about the sun moving from 23.5 0.4 over the celestial equator? It looks like.
So when I go out and I take the star trail pictures of Polaris at June 21st.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Down.
He did a time lapse of the. Yeah, okay. He did a time lapse of 6 months apart, right?
Yo, hold up. So what were we saying about the exact opposite of like being born in Egypt in the summer solstice? You said it would be like worse for you in that case.
No, it's what time you're born and what on the calendar and actual time of day. So where the sun is really dictates as far as how much voltage, it's at least what I was finding, how much voltage is actually in your body the moment you're born, when you leave your mother's body, because it's like you not only get your own, I don't know about soul or anything, but you get your own frequency, you get your own resonance, and that resonance dictates by the sun as far as where the fiery orb is within inside of the tutorial field. I mean, as far as where it's at, it's what time and what part of the analemma it's within.
We were talking about this back in the day. Like, could we put some physical context to like the whole idea of astrology and how one sign? It seems like there's traits that people have born under a certain sign compared to another, and like a lot of people call it pseudoscience, but there seems to be so much to it that it couldn't just be that. And what if it was that there's a certain place on the earth that you were born with the stars in their electromagnetic frequency having a certain significance at that early development stage, how that would possibly maybe influence some of the things that seem to manifest in your life or traits you might have. And I thought it was cool back in the day. We were like, okay, well, if it worked this way, and the stars in relation to where you are physically might actually, make that make sense, because it's not. There has to be something to it, right? So in the same way you're talking about now, there might be. Yeah.
But it's not the stars; it's the sun.
Not the stars.
The stars is what we use to mark where the sun is, as far as exactly where it's at. It's GP. What elevation and latitude it's in, so you can see which like the precession of the equinox.
You use the sun to calculate where the stars are. Did I get that right? Tell me I got that. Did I get that right?
You know which constellation that the sun is falling to.
Yeah.
But it's not the stars; it's the sun.
Not the stars.
The stars is what we use to mark where the sun is, as far as exactly.
See, I fucked it up, man. The stars dictate where the sun is. I get it. Are you guys getting this, man? I don't.
What you're talking about now, there might be. Yeah.
But it's not the stars; it's the sun.
Not the stars.
The stars is what we use to mark where the sun is, as far as exactly where it's at. It's GP, what elevation and latitude it's in, so you can see which like the precession of the equinox. You know which constellation that the sun is falling within, like as it's born out of Virgo on the summer or the winter solstice. You understand that's how we use the time, but it's not the stars. It's not the position of the stars, at least under my observation of it. It's the position of the sun. Is it in the northern hemisphere? Is it exactly 180 degrees within the side of the...
Well, the sun's been coming back closer every day. Over here, man. I'm in California, man. But yeah, it's coming back.
Exactly 180 degrees within the side of the longitude grid or the electromagnetic field. So if I'm born in North America on the summer solstice, if the sun is directly above me, I'm not sure if that means it's more charged than if it's directly away from me if I was born in midnight. But I do know the closer that you get to that day, that summer solstice, the more charge you have in your body. Very,
That's heavy.
I mean, under my data that I've seen, it's very well noticed. But
before I forget, since that's interesting, that would be a whole study of its own. But yeah, the angle of the sun would be determined where, as far as like the constellations correlating with it, that angle of the sun would be, different depending on which constellation it's in at a certain time and all that too. Is how that would really come into the play, right?
But I'm just saying, on the same day, like if I was born on, let's say, June 21st, and I was born in midnight, and then somebody else was born at noon, and that sun was directly above that person, in that position on the plane of existence at the time. It was noon for them. Well, who's got more power? I would think that it would be the person that's at noon, but it could be exactly opposite of that. It could be that the person that's exactly opposite of the sun's connection to the earth, the actual grounding to the earth, because the sun is an electromagnetic field up there. You can see the fucking thing. Maybe it's that reverse polarity gives you the more charge, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's that when the sun's over, you get more charge. I don't know. I really don't.
And you're saying that because when you're born, that frequency that's at that time sticks with you your whole life to some degree, and will determine some kind of voltage.
You're charged by this. You're charged by that big old fiery orb in the sky. That's an electromagnetic field ball that's flying through the toroidal fields, that charges itself up through the toroidal field. Well, if it's at 23.4 in your hemisphere, and if you're born in the northern quadrant, let's say, in northeast or northwest, and it's June 21st, that sun is inside of the toroidal field at the maximum charge it can possibly have, at 23.4. So the sun's charged all the way up. Everything. That's why that's the peak of growing season. That's why in the northern hemispheres, that's why you would have not the freaks. I don't want to say I'm a freak, or I shouldn't have said that. I don't want to say that people are freaks that are born close to the summer solstice, but they have energy. They would have energy. These people that would measure out like this, they can't stop thinking. They have problems sleeping, things like that.
So somebody that wanted to manufacture or have an influence on their birth of their child might, if this was true, they could then try to make sure they were at a certain place in relation to the sun to have an effect.
I can't say that it makes a difference as far as the person you're going to be. I don't know any of that. I don't know the esoteric connection.
If there was something that they figured out about this being more beneficial to be charged.
I was just trying to make myself a generator. Myself personally. I wanted to be a generator to be able to do this when I figured that out. That's all I wanted. Well, could I get a grid of people if I got enough people to stand on this thing or walk by, or maybe if I was able to pull the frequencies just out of the air by having an antenna, I could just have. I just need to be able to charge my battery packs because I have 30,000 amp fucking.
You're trying to use yourself for that? I'm just kidding.
No, but if I can get a system that'll pull the ionosphere, pull anything, even low voltages, up to the point of 100 watts continuously, I can charge a battery bank that's the size of a car and keep it going. Even if I'm pulling from it, it's enough to top it up. And that's
wow.
What
Sounds like some demonology, man. You must be a demon.
No, there is some truth in that, because they already did that with a lot of people standing in water, and they pulled the charge out of that people with a bat.
Oh, go to this Exploratorium in San Francisco. It's on display. As many people want to go do it, you can light up a light yourself.
Oh, what do you think about
Go ahead.
We are electric beings, people.
Cathedral bells and stuff like that? Do you think there's something with those frequencies and how it affects people?
Well, frequency definitely affects you. I mean, you've heard of the brown note? Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, one that makes you shake your pants.
Yep, it's pretty much it, but it's done with radio frequencies. It's the same thing, and it's just a high intense frequency. I can make, you can have some frequency hit somebody, they can shit their fucking pants, and they never know anything. Their insights just start vibrating.
That's fucked up.
Well, there's other
some of the weaponry they have now. Yeah, that's scary.
Right. There's many different things like that to make it to where you're scared, to make it to where you're not love, but euphoria, a certain frequency that make you just euphoric. I mean, just so euphoric, it's insane. But yeah, there's the frequencies will definitely be able to control you.
Hey, since we were talking about
the frequencies. Damn. I don't think my microphone's working, but frequencies. The word freak is in the word frequency. That's all I wanted to say. Yeah, that's all. Frequencies. Freak. All right.
Your innovations and some of your, constructing of the pumps and stuff. So last night you were telling me about this thing that you made. You made a virtual reality suit back in the day that you actually made your money back by giving people a chance to put it on. Right? Okay, tell us about that. You had the sensor pads and everything before that even existed.
Way before anybody even could conceive of virtual reality. I was taking off-the-shelf games like Doom, what was another one? Delta Force, just off the PC games, just regular PC games, and I was able to get a headset from China and put my own InnerSense directional, like synchronic sensors that were not just, they were almost like the same thing you have in your phone, but it was all with gyroscopes. So you would have this little box that would sit up there, and it would work just like a mouse. It was just programmed to work like a mouse, and it was just a gyroscope that would move the mouse on the screen up, down, left, and right, and you could center it whenever it got off of what would you call sync, or when you sync it up to where it's centered, you just push a button. But anyway, I built a whole gun, a chest plate, InnerSense, put speakers on the whole thing and everything, and just hooked it up to computers. And I spent like $19,000 on it in 1994, 95, I think. And computers, I got 4 computers, 4 headsets, and I built full cockpits of A-10 C2s, and I think P-51 planes, to where you could, all the switches, everything, you can fucking do everything. But you only had like 60 degrees of viewable with your headsets. But I charged people $1 a minute to get me my 19,000.
Put that out, yeah.
Yeah.
You went to the mall, or where'd you go? You went to like trade shows or something, and...
Yeah, Dave. Frequencies that make you freak out. Yeah. Duh. Have you ever been to a punk concert? For fuck's sake, man. Come on. You've been to a punk concert, right? Okay. Yeah, freaking out, man. People freaking out, man. Frequencies. That's all I'm saying, man. The word frequencies has the word freak in it. That's all. I'm not a dick.
Set up a little booth.
No, I went to gun shows where I made the most money, and what was the other place? They're like expos. I don't know how to describe them. They're like everybody can be there. They're just expos. You could have printing shops. You could have anything, but
yeah, it's just a trade show of some sort. Right?
Just a trade show, I guess. Would it be? Yeah, it's just expos. Yeah, but I only did it for like 4 months. 4 different weekends, to be honest with you, and it paid everything back, and I was done. I was like, I'm done with people. I don't want to deal with people anymore.
It cost you what to make the suit? You had like a couple different suits, right?
4.
Sensor pads.
I had 3 suits with the guns. I took BB guns, drilled everything out, put my own sensors, made my own joystick controllers, and put my own memory switches on it. Or they're like rubber memory switches for where you would hold the stock of the gun, and then the trigger was just a mouse. I took the ball off of it and everything, and you just pulled the trigger. It was quite neat. It was quite neat.
Yeah, and then it would actually sense it. It would have little pads that you would like actually get a body sensation from the suit. With the
they were speakers without the cones on them. I just used the internal parts of speakers to make an InnerSense chest plate and a back plate.
So it wasn't
like, yeah, you felt. I mean, If the game gave you a gunshot, you felt a gunshot, but you didn't feel it like it. Oh, if you got shot in the front, you didn't feel it in the front. You felt it everywhere. It was 1994, dude, 95. I mean, fuck, I was.
Yeah, but probably better than a lot of stuff they try to, even stuff they have now. It was comparable, or even, like now they have a Tesla suit. I think I sent you a link for that last night when you were talking about it.
The problem is with VR. I have VR. I have a couple different VRs. PlayStation. I have Meta 3, all that kind of stuff, and I play some of the stuff, but it still hasn't gotten. Nobody's put any time into the programming. The stuff that I was doing back in 1995 was literally the same visual representation of what you're getting now, except for the flight simulators. Now I have a full cockpit A10C2, every button. For all the flight controls. I don't have every button, but it's a 192 button control module that I built myself, wired up, 700 feet of wire, 120 something, 150 something buttons, and
wow,
full model, everything, and full, you can feel it's a rumble chair. I've got all that kind of stuff, with full 6 degrees freedom headset. It's insane, but the visual representation is nowhere near what I thought it would be at this point. They haven't done anything justice.
Wow, they don't want to make it too realistic because you have to land on a surface that's actually stationary, and that's why pilots treat it as stationary, because if there was a tangential gradient, we know that there'd never be any kind of landing that would happen with the regular pilot that just treats it as stationary. Anyway, so yeah, you built that, and you said, wait, hold on, what did it cost you? You said you invested how much to make the suits and stuff?
It's like 18. I think I spent 18 for everything right off the bat, and I probably spent another $3,000 or $4,000. Bits and bots that I needed that I didn't know I needed afterwards. So probably about 22,000.
And then you went and sold it by the minute for people to use it. You had people just lining up for it, right? Then you made $24,000 in like 4 weekends or something like that.
4 weekends and a little bit, yeah, something like that. Yeah. It was really crazy how fast it went. How fast I was just done. I liked the idea.
You don't want to deal with the people anymore. You're like, I made my money back. That was an awesome experience.
And I was a computer consultant and a print, not a print shop owner, but I was a head pressman for a print shop that I was supposed to own. But anyway, so I was doing all kinds of stuff too. That wasn't just my job to do that. That was on my off time trying to make that back. And as soon as I got done with making my money back, I was done with everything. I even got divorced right at that point too in life. It was just everything was.
Big changes, yeah. You're like, okay.
It was just everything was.
Big changes, yeah. You're like, okay.
I didn't want to deal with fucking computers. I didn't want to deal with nothing.
Kind of like the way you feel towards arguing with ballers about flat Earth.
I can't argue.
No reason to do that anymore.
It doesn't make any sense anymore. I don't.
Yeah,
I don't get anything out of
refraction, and it's like you're giving the possibility of it to. There's no possibility that we're on a ball any longer. Why even talk about, the arguments that are just reifications on their part?
Well, it just gets down to the point for me is. It doesn't, to me, the flat Earth doesn't mean anything to me anymore. I mean, yeah, the Earth is flat. Don't get me wrong. I know the Earth is flat. I'm making models of everything, as far as how it works, how I can position my body from the stars. I can do it myself with the visual representation and not use any calculus. That's what I made that map for. It's not to show that the Earth is flat. I'm not trying to prove anything by the Earth is flat by that. It's to show that you can navigate with the stars. A stupid retard that's 4 years old can do it if you just show them this thing. It's so easy.
The 4 quadrants with the way it's plotted out. Well, with yours, you made it so that even like a mariner or somebody in the Navy, if they lost their GPS, they could go by your 2 rotating star system as a way of navigating.
Having never used it, all they'd have to have it is in their cubby somewhere, and when their GPS goes out, their sextant doesn't work, they can't use anything like that, they're going to pull this thing out, and they're going to go, oh, fuck, I should have used this a long time ago.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
that easy.
the way you have it, you'd have to give a little instructions on the overlays and how they have to at least figure out their amplitude, right? Or what is?
Well, no,
Whatever
they would have to understand stars. I mean, you're not gonna
Yeah.
you're not gonna be a maritime nothing. You're not gonna be a worker or nothing and not have any type of understanding of GPS coordinates or how to figure out the timing of the sun for noon. Timing your new sun or timing. I'm sorry, getting your azimuth or your altitude of the Polaris so you can see your latitude. I mean, you as far as you
It's
aren't
too
going to
bad
be
you don't have your
targeted.
camera on because I'd love for you to actually show your wheels, your star wheels, because a lot of people they look at that GIF that I post, they assume that the stars overlap. They don't get that the stars and they have to have the northern stars that you can see from the south represented on the southern wheel, and then the same with the northern wheel has to have some of the southern stars on it, and anything outside the celestial equator is not going around 360 degrees. But since you can see them from a certain vantage point, you need to be able to do your triangulation with those stars, and they have to be on the wheel that makes it look like they overlap and go around 360 degrees, but they actually don't. It's just the way that the wheels have to work. And you've got it so that the GPS works, or the GPS for the stars work in the south and the north for these wheels, it seems. And that's the way you could falsify that whole idea by doing trying to figure out if it actually matches up the way you've got it, right?
Right. There is no figuring out if it matches up. It matches up. There's no question if it matches up because I am not coming up with anything. You guys can see this, right? Yeah. Okay. So this is Weems and Plath. This is exactly what you buy from Amazon, or you can buy it straight from Weems and Plath. It's a Starfinder 2102-D Weems and Plath Starfinder, and you can see I didn't make this. This is something I bought. And all that I've done is taken this information that's on each one of these, all of the GPs or the declinations, because this is what did that guy made me say? He didn't like the way I called it sidereal. Sidereal. This is called sidereal.
The sidereal
representation. Sidereal hour angle of the stars as far as where they are in the south, where they are in the north. So all I did is I shrunk this down 90%. No, that's not right. 93%, and moved Aries. That is the vernal equinox, Aries. I moved it 33 degrees to the east, so that now it doesn't fall on Greenwich for the vernal equinox. As far as where we mark time and everything, it's now Egypt as far as where mine is, because I moved my grids all to where Egypt is there. So now when I put my star patterns on there, there's one. 1 second. Oh, that's weird. We don't have the other star patterns. But, so, this star pattern for the North Star patterns, if this is north, this is south, all these outside of this circle right here, these are the southern stars. They have to be there because when you're looking at south, you're going to see those southern stars, even though you're not representing or trying to use them for your triangulation. You can, but you have to have a polyclonic or a I'm going to get the words wrong. It's a conical shape that starts from here to here, depending on what your latitude is, and you can see that it all meets up on a triangle or a cone. This would be the bottom of the cone. The cone comes up and meets up to the north, but you got to represent it for a longer distance. It's not going to look right on here. You have to draw it completely different. But each one of these is different as far as each latitude. This would be the 30th latitude. This one is the 55th latitude. And you can see how they're so different as far as how wide this angle is and how short that cone is, or the bottom of the cone is. And it actually will show you, I got to get the wide one for this to really show you. So you can see.
You printed those out. You made custom prints of those overlays too, so that you could.
I had to do 94% overlays myself because it wouldn't give you the same mathematical.
Yeah, so those are custom prints. Not only the maps, but the overlays that you had to make with translucent paper. It's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I've made all my translucents are I made them myself. All of these are mine.
Nice.
But so you can see that if you're looking north, if this is the North Pole, if you're looking north, everything converges, right? If you go past the observer, this is the observer's viewpoint. No matter how you spin it, you're always on the observer viewpoint at 30-degree latitude. If you're looking away, they diverge. And that's how you know that you're using the southern stars, or you would have to turn this to where you can still see the southern stars on this page for when you're actually having it on there and you're trying to see what the declination is of each star for that time of the night or that time of the day. You can move the star wheels underneath it, and it gives you the exact readings of what you're supposed to look at in the sky. Well, if you do this on backwards, as far as not using it, you can see that observer viewpoint right there is on the celestial equator, as far as where that zero, that black line is right here. And you can tell that it's, if you were trying to use this as using it, you're only really using the inside of this star pattern.
Yeah, that middle circle, if you bring it up close, we were getting a good shot of it when you were bringing it up close. But you could just show up close, like that's the celestial equator, that circle in the middle. That's showing those are the northern stars. Those are the ones that actually go 360 degrees around. All the stars outside of that do not actually go around 360 degrees. They go the opposite direction in the south. But
you're over here.
Through the celestial equator, you're going to see those stars run through the middle, right? And then they overlap with your other star wheel, but they're the same stars on both wheels, so that you can represent that they're in their exact position. But that doesn't mean that the actual stars overlap. It's just the same stars that have to be represented on both wheels, and they line up perfectly with your wheels turning. And that's how that all works. And the fact that explain how it is that you've got now like almost like a true star position, and how you figured that out. Like you had to plot it so that it would run in a perfect circle, whereas the wheel or the way that stars look, they're not in perfect circles. And so explain how that process and some of the math.
I didn't have to do that. That's the way it works. So that's the only way the mathematical can be turned into the visual. This is the mathematical. What you're seeing the represented here is each one of these discs here, this one here being the south, is represented in the nautical almanac on a grid, on a graph, by local hour angle, sidereal local hour angle. That's exactly what this graph is, of just this center part right here. These are all the northern stars that are on this disc, and you can only use one disc at a time, even in modern nautical plotting or navigation. You can only use one central location, either a segment octantis or the north. And as you look at it, if I still have the marks on them, I do. Okay, cool. You can see that if
you bring it up closer, we can see it better. If there's any way to pick it up. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, so if you see them coming together, you can see that it came off. That's why it has to be on the flat thing. Okay. If you're spinning the stars and they're coming around, it's not that you're saying, I'm not saying that these stars right here on this top thing swing all the way out here. They are over here. It's just right here is where these are marked. On the prime meridian is where we mark all local hour angles, sidereal hour angle, from either what you want to call Greenwich Mean Time or Universal Standard Time, UTC. But I say it's from what the stars say, the vernal equinox over Egypt. They say it's from the Greenwich, and all they do is they move those stars 33 degrees ahead so that now it works. That's all they did differently. But I don't know how to show it any other way than...
You were explaining how the sun comes in on the vernal equinox, and how there was like a 90-degree angle that didn't make sense with that until you did the 33-degree correction. Then it seemed like the 60-degree angle of the sun made more sense, the way it actually is, right?
Is this better top for you, or is this better top for you? Which one's better for top?
Well, we can't. It's blurry right now. We're holding it down there, but if you move it up, we see a lot more clearly. For some reason.
So this is north. This is going to be north. This is going to be south. Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So as far as the way the sun, what you were asking? Say that again. I'm sorry.
You said that the sun during the start of Aries, and the way that the angle was without the 33-degree correction, seemed like it didn't work as well.
So the only way I know that this looks and works is from Egypt, as far as the Babylonians, not from Egyptians, but from Babylonians, as far as what they talked about and how it works off of them. So if you look at this, we got to remove the southern stars so you can see it. But if you look at it, you can see that you've got, I don't know, maybe you can see it or maybe you can't. You've got the, is that right? Hold on, I'm going to have to put them together again real quick to make sure. But you're going to have the
okay, show the linear map first, the one you show where you see that the constellations and the start of where the 33-degree correction, because that makes it kind of like a good lead into how you're talking about the sun not being in the right constellation for the start, right? That's why how you can tell it's off, right?
So this is a star map of the sky from 0 latitude. You've got 0 latitude right here, and then 100. This is saying 360. Actually, it's this way. Sorry. This will say 360, but it's divided up into 180-degree increments from east to west from the center. Mm-hmm. And what you have is the vernal equinox on this side is from 360, and then it goes through the entire year of the position of where the sun is in the constellation of the sky. Is it in Virgo? Is it in Aries? Is it in Cancer? Wherever it actually is, not where you see it going across the sky, but where it's actually sitting at. And as it goes across, you can see that they had to use these star patterns. They couldn't change the stars because it's what we see in the sky. But what they did do is they changed the prime meridian. They changed the beginning point because they chose to put Polaris not at 360 or at 0, but at 327. And that's 33 degrees away from Egypt. And that is, if you measure it out, it's 32.45 whatever degrees from Egypt to Greenwich, or to the Greenwich line, to the prime meridian that we say it is today. And if you look at it, it has to be to where Orion, right? Orion's going to be sitting directly over Egypt when the sun is in Aries, because it's 90 something degrees. I'm going to make sure on that. 270 to 360. How many is that? That is 90 degrees. Yes. So 90 degrees. Okay. So, it should be 90 degrees from, wherever the position that we're starting the calendar here. That would be Orion's belt. Okay.
So you're saying the sun should actually be there with Orion's belt. Instead, it's 33 degrees off. The sun's not in the right constellation.
Hold on. Orion's belt is directly in the center when the vernal equinox happens. The vernal equinox is 90 degrees from where the sun crests above the horizon on that moment. We don't cross the vernal equinox everywhere. I mean, you can say that, but it only happens at one moment, just like you have an international dateline, which is at these exact points. These exact points is where the international dateline is, so that you can mark where it's at, where the time starts, where it's Monday everywhere in the world. That's why it can be Monday in Australia and Tuesday Monday in America and Tuesday in Australia, because you cross that international dateline. The same way that it has to happen when we all cross a certain point. That's when vernal equinox, at least that's how star maps work. Maybe not the calendar, maybe not your clock, but star maps work exactly at a certain point, and that point is the central of our world. Whether you depict it like this, as being a flat plane with a dual pole, or you depict it as being a ball with the prime meridian on Greenwich, you still have to have a position that you start time from, and that time doesn't start from here where the sun is. It's always where you're sitting, which is the prime meridian, where the sun comes up, and it's about 90 degrees. I don't have them sitting here. Just the same way that you can take this grid is this grid. Each one of these lines represents 15 degrees, right? Is that right? Let me see here. No, these are 30 degrees. So mine would, I've got twice as many because mine are 15 degrees. These are 30 degrees. Every one of these can be transposed onto my map by GP locations as far as the sidereal GP locations. And what it looks like is that's what this is.
And so you were explaining how when you did the 33-degree correction, the sun had the correct angle for where it would be if you're at the prime meridian, right?
Right, because the sun would be crossing 90 degrees it would be crossing into the, I don't have all the constellations on this map, or on this disc, so you can see exactly where it's in Aries and all that kind of stuff at the time when Orion's belt would be sitting over the prime meridian. But you can see it as far as just, if you put the disc over the top of it, and I put Orion's belt on it, on the center here, you can count it out. Not that I'm just angling it going 90 degrees, but you can count it out to be 90 degrees, that when the sun crests on Aries, it's exactly that many degrees from Egypt, not from Greenwich. And that's how I figured it out, because this shows you they moved it 33 degrees.
Yeah, the 360 mark should be where you see the Polaris. That would
Polaris. No, not where you see Polaris should be at the 360.
That's what I mean. That's what I just said. Yeah, the 360 mark should be where Polaris is. But because that's the way it should be.
You can't move the grid. You have to move the star, because they didn't move all these stars. They only moved this one.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the key. So they're saying, because they can't have a misrepresentation of the stars with the constellation or the way the sun is in relation to the stars, but then they just give you a little clue there with Polaris not being in the right spot. Is that what you're saying?
It's not a clue. It has to be there because they moved the grid. They moved the grid 33 degrees. They moved the stars.
Oh, okay. It doesn't matter if you move Polaris, because that's consistent, right?
That's the position.
It just goes around Polaris.
Position. You're right.
Yeah, it's the center position.
There you go.
Right. Okay, I get it. I got you. So yeah, as long as but then you can see that actually aligns with a different constellation below it, and that's the 33 degrees.
Right, because you can see to make it more visually representation. Sorry, that's upside down. You can see that this is where the start of time is, Aries. This is where the sun has to be, as far as when we visually see it. It's going to be sitting inside of Aries, starting, and that's going to be March 21st, the vernal equinox. Okay, well, the observer is not directly underneath what the body or the thing that they're using, whether it be the sun for the tabernacles, the feast of horns, or the horn, whatever, you know what I'm talking about, the Jewish things. They go by when the moon crests that horizon, and that's always 90 degrees from where you're at. I mean, literally.
So then go back to your star. Yeah, okay, gotcha. Yeah, so go back to this. I thought you were saying before, like, it would be more like a 90 degree rather than it should be 60 degrees, but maybe I got that wrong.
No, they've moved it so that on the map it's 60 degrees, because they moved that Polaris number 33 degrees over, so they lost all of that. So they're saying the sun is sitting here, and Egypt doesn't line. They're saying Egypt doesn't line up with these stars for the beginning of the vernal equinox. So they're saying that the Egyptians built the pyramids, and just for someday, and what would it be? I can't figure out if it's ahead or behind. It's going to be
Okay.
you know, 45 days before or 45 days after March 21st. So they built these huge megalithic structures to mirror the image of the sky on some off day.
With Orion. With Orion on just some random day. Yeah, right.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying happened. So they had to move this. Everything moves back, and now it all lines up exactly with this grid. Not my map yet, but all the stars lined up in timing as far as where they are.
And it's not even just your theory. This is historically verifiable. That they did move
no doubt. That it's not so much verifiable as it is. It's in print. It's like I can show it to you on a map. I can show it to you on a graph. I can show it to you on a grid as far as data point. Just literally local hour angle, Greenwich Mean Time, or Greenwich hour angle, and the local hour angle. As far as I can give you all those things on a graph, and it's the exact same representation of what you're seeing here.
Gotcha. Yeah. So this is not just like some like whack theory that you're coming up with to make your dual pole map fit the observations. It's like this is like verifiable.
I don't think I came up with this. I don't think I'm a guru that figured out the stars and the ancients and all this. I think I stumbled across a bit of information that put two disciplines of either science or knowledge, hidden knowledge, that a lot of people just didn't think that they didn't correlate this. The star class, Weems and Platt, they don't know what they have here. I don't think.
Right.
I don't think they understand what it actually does.
Because we speculated about that, whether they put it on they made it on one side rather than giving you two discs, which might have given you the clue what you did. But they almost, if they did know, they might have put it on one side or the other, so you wouldn't use them in concert with each other, which is what you've done, which shows that if that's actually falsifiable, and people can call up their friend in Australia to see if the star lines up, or the stars at the azimuth right when another star from your other wheel is supposed to be at a certain spot at a certain time. You can see if it actually checks out yourself.
Well, you can, and that's fine. But it wouldn't work that way. I mean, it does work that way, but that's not what it's made for. It's not made for me being in this position to tell you where this is. Right. It's made for me to plot my position by using the timing of all the stars to do triangulation. So that I got to show you this. This is the only way to do it.
Yeah, because you're explaining the process you had to go through just to get your relation to the position you are, what latitude, with one given star, just to go through all that math. And this kind of puts it all in one picture, so that if you figured out where one star is, then you'd know in relation to these other stars. Go ahead, explain it. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm just gonna run through a little bit real quick. It'll only take a second. So you would have to do a sundial. You have to go find out exactly what your time of sun is at your location. I'm not going to give mine away, but it's a little bit after noon, so that I would have to change my mathematical equation for the 15 degrees per hour from Greenwich is how my my longitude actually works out for timing the sun.
And so wait, just to clarify for people, what he means is that you want to get the sun's position at high noon, what they call high noon, where it's highest and where it's the highest.
It's zenith. Zenith.
It's zenith. And that would be different for different places on the Earth. And there's a little bit of a variation. Sometimes it's a little before noon, a little after, depending on where you are.
No, it's not a little bit of a variation. Every foot you move west or every foot you move east depends on whether you add. So if I move from my position, if you're looking at this the top, this the bottom, if I move east, my time is going to be earlier. It's going to be up to 11 o'clock, and as soon as it passes 11 o'clock from noon, now I'm in a different time zone. Most likely, but I'm definitely in the different 15-degree grid because I've already passed 15 degrees from the sun's movement. 15 degrees on this side. 15 degrees total. And then now you can know that as soon as you pass to where your sun's giving you a zenith at 1 o'clock, you're going pat, you're moving. You know that your navigation is telling you now I have to change my time zone, recenter it to where the 0 is here, and then now I go from another degrees to see if I'm going to be changing or moving along. That's how it works for getting your estimated longitude. Now,
and just to clarify, since I know what you're talking about a little bit more than anybody that hasn't heard this before, you use the shadow of the sun. So you hold up, I don't know if you have your thing, but the way you would figure this out is you would go outside around 11 o'clock, so you'd be like an hour, maybe 11:30 or whatever, and then you would hold it up and you would try to get the shadow of the sun to line up with what you've already determined with your compass pointing straight towards Polaris. So you first of all get your
like this. You're going to watch your shadow come across, and you're going to have your clock. Hold on a second. I'll make the whole first.
Because it's really confusing for people that I'm sure that haven't. Maybe I'm just being too pedantic about it, but it's just so people know what you're talking about.
No problem. No problem.
No problem.
So at 11:50, I go outside, right? That's what time I'm saying that it is. 11:50, I go outside, and my shadow is exactly on the 12 of noon. You can see that as far as, let me go like that.
Yeah, wait, now you would, the reason that, okay, so this paper representation is
a sundial.
The sundial, right. Right, so you would also use your compass. Don't you use your compass first to mark where the declination is?
You do want to do that kind of stuff. You want to use your compass, make sure that your sundial is directly north, but if you're navigating, you're going to know all this kind of stuff because you're going to be keeping an eye on your magnetic declination and all that kind of stuff. You want to actually turn your sundial to whatever your magnetic declination is. But that's not an issue. That's not an issue. You just want to get an estimate of what you're at because you're going to do triangulation. This is just an estimation.
Right.
So you're getting it to where it hits noon, and if it's 11:50, you know that you're not at the exact latitude of a 15 degrees. You know, for every 4 minutes, if you take 60 divided by 4, it's 15. So every 4 minutes, you move 1 Arctic minute or 1 Arctic degree around the grid. Right? So you know that you're 2 away from whatever 15. So if you're 7 hours or 8 hours or whatever it is, now you're not exactly 120 degrees away from Greenwich. You are 117 and some change because you just take those 4 degrees or those 2 degrees away from it because you're 8-10 minutes past or before. I'm sorry, I'm fucking this up. But anyway,
yeah, just so people understood, like you're getting that angle so that you can mark on the piece of paper the angle that aligns with where you are, where the sun is highest.
And and I don't have all this set up right now, but this will make perfect sense just looking at the same device I use. I don't use a sextant. The same reason I don't use anything that the modern time people use because besides a compass, you have to use a compass. I could make my own, but I'm not going to do all that shit. This is a quadrant. This is a speed square, I know, but it's the same principle as a quadrant. And all a quadrant is a plumb bob or a dangling piece of string on the middle of a square or a quadrant that gives you your angles from 0 to, you can have it whatever you want. I don't need to go anything past 90. But that's the way you can get your angle for Polaris or any star for that matter. But I can go out and I can use this, sight this up with my eye like this. And then when I go out there and I find out what it is and I line it up in my eye, go out there, find Polaris looking down there and I see it and I come back and it shows me it's at 45. That means I'm at the 45th latitude or close estimation of it. You always want to go below, never go above. So if you're trying to guess, you always guess 1 below or half below, whatever you want to describe, because it'll just make your triangulation a lot easier.
So if you're in the middle of the ocean, you had no idea what latitude you were at. This could be a way of actually figuring out that right there.
There would be that would be such an off chance of not anybody not knowing what latitude they were at if they were in the ocean traveling across the ocean. But let's say that's the case. Yes, you could do this. You could figure out exactly what latitude you're at. You can guesstimate what longitude you're at just by knowing the stars enough, by watching them every night, knowing that the Big Dipper is right here. You know, if you're watching it come across the sky, the Big Dipper is right here, right now. It'll be about right here by 4 o'clock in the morning. I just know that, and it progresses 0.98630136986 of an arc degree every 3 minutes and 56 seconds.
When Rob Saleh came here, he knew that this was the blowtorch that was either going to make him or break him. And part of that blowtorching was Joe.
Hold on, wait. What is that? Somebody.
Yeah, what the fuck was that? All right, I'm gonna stop it. I gotta go. I gotta go to bed. Thank you guys. Thank you. Good stuff, man. We'll get through it. We're gonna get this 2026, bro. Yeah, let's do it. All right, let's mark it. Where are we at? We're at 3 hours. We're like not even halfway through. Oh my god. All right, let's do this. I'll be back. All right, cheers.